We are saying rise in power to the late great Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. If you grew up on her music or if you discovered it later, you know just how much of a powerhouse she was. And of course, her legacy will linger on throughout the generations to come. So I haven't had a chance to look at the entire funeral, but I did see parts of it, and there were some parts of this that screamed out to me there is something more sinister occurring behind the backdrop of a funeral. My first bell that rang was like Ariana Grande, ding, ding, ding. Why is she being touted as the voice of the funeral? What is the connection here? I still really don't know. Someone mentioned she did a Aretha tribute on Jimmy Fallon, and they liked the job she did, so the family requested her. I don't think that's it. What I think is occurring here, especially after I saw her dress and I saw the fact that the bishop was groping her, I felt she was being put through a public humiliation ritual. Like we know, many of these Disney stars, Nickelodeon, etc., when they grow up on the set, a lot of them are abused and programmed as sex kittens, okay? And I kind of feel that the reason why she had on this particular dress that she clearly was uncomfortable about, because when she walked on stage, she tugged at it. And they had the panel of patriarchs sitting behind her, and the bishop groping her side, which everyone's divided about it. They're like, he didn't grope her breast. Why was he hugging her? Why was he touching her? It was inappropriate. I don't care what anyone says. Don't touch people without their permission. And the fact that she suffered there in silence told me that she knew what was happening and she had to grin and bear it because it was going to take her career to the next level. Okay? And we have seen her go from the beloved child star to a sex kitten already. Look at how her costume changes. Look at now the occult-like symbolism she places in her music videos. And all you have to do is Google and you'll see all of this for yourself. But her clothes have become more sexualized. And that's what they do with these babies. As soon as they transition into womanhood, they pump them out nonstop to be fetishes for men. And I believe that, like many stars, like when Taylor was verbally harassed by Kanye, she had to submit to that. And then she blew up after that controversy. So they have to go through that. It happens to the men as well as the women. The boys are being molested as well as the girls. And we have to come to grips with this very real tragic fact that's occurring not only in Hollywood, but the black church as well. The black families, the white families, the Latino families. It's happening all over the world, and people are dismissive. The fact that so many women looked at this and said he wasn't groping her, or so many men looked at this and said she deserved it because she had on a short skirt, blew my mind. At the end of the day, most of these young stars did not pimp themselves out. They were pimped out by parents, consumed by greed. And they're being pimped out to the God that rules this earth. And the God that rules this earth loves human sacrifice. And that's the bottom line. You can research all of that. I don't get into that because, like I always say, I don't want anybody knocking on my door looking for me. So she paid the price, and that's just how it goes. Now, crossing over into the funeral itself, there was a lady there with an African tail whisk. I thought that was very interesting because it's a Baptist church. Now, that is symbolic of power and transformation. I'm not sure how far Aretha was into the occult. I don't know if she was a priestess of any sort. But mostly anyone that's in a higher echelon in the music industry cannot get there without being a member of some secret fraternity, sorority of some type, okay? And there was also a lady outside that was from New Orleans that had like on a pink mask. Was this an ode to Aretha? We don't know, because Aretha said her favorite color was red, and that's why they dressed her. They also had several costume for lack of a better word, changes. And the layers here are amazing. The red shoes are like symbolic of being spellbound, okay? And witchery. That's why you saw Dorothy with them. It's like about power. But did you also realize the Pope wears red shoes? And they say it goes back to the time where red dye was hard to come by. So they had one bug that they used to use to dye the shoes, and it showed that only like the wealthy people could afford that. But there are other stories that say the red symbolizes the blood of and the skin of the children that were murdered to keep them in power. Again, I don't know. I can only report, kind of what I read, and I don't like to give my opinion. But I do know that red symbolically is the color of death and sacrifice in the occult, and gold is wealth. So take that for what you will. I'm not going to say she was sacrificed because people do grow old, they are sick, they die. So I'm not saying that. Other people are saying she was fine one day and the next day she was dead. But I do know people that have happened to. So everything is not a conspiracy. Now, what I did find interesting about this is that the men that were seated on that pulpit are all of denominations that are different and different, some black, some white, some Spanish. And the pulpit sign says one faith, one Lord, right? I thought that was so interesting that they're telling us here this is one world order, that there is no divisiveness. They only divide y'all so that y'all can keep fighting against each other. But see how they all sit up there so nicely and smile? Ding, 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 hello. And then the second thing I thought was interesting is that her legs were crossed with her red shoes. A lot of people are saying, oh, that's so ladylike, that's so dainty. But the X is symbolic of transformation. It's a Masonic symbol as well. And it also represents the deity Osiris. Many of the pharaohs were buried like this to show their submission and honor and reverence to their sun god. Okay, so it is showing symbolically that maybe she has ties to the occult. I don't know. Sometimes when you're observing a normal occurrence or a normal program, you have to look beyond what is seen on the surface, okay? And some people are saying, like, even the fact that some of the people that came to the ceremony, they had on these extravagant witches garbs and hats. I don't want to call any names because I know y'all love y'all stars. But again, you don't have longevity in this industry without paying the piper. That's just the bottom line. So if you want to think everyone is filled with the Holy Ghost and loves Jesus there, if that's their thing, you go right ahead. But there was some symbology going on here. And throughout her career, Aretha herself has also done certain arm and hand movements that makes one wonder, did she practice the occult? I don't know, y'all. I haven't solved a thing as usual in this video. Let me know what you think. Comment below. Share. Let's open a dialogue. Do you believe in the public humiliation ritual? And do you think that was used here to subdue Ariana Grande and reduce her to her role as a beta sex kitten for the Illuminati? Let me know what you think. And as always, you are the most powerful being that you know. Don't let anyone tell you anything different. And every time I say Om Shrim Brizzy, I am truly wishing the very best for you. I only mean to open a dialogue today. I am not being disrespectful at all to Miss Ross, okay? So I don't want anyone to think I'm being disrespectful to our queen. I am not. I am just really talking about the images and the symbolism that is behind some of these public rituals they do in everyday real life occurrences. Thank you so much for listening. Om Shrim Brezi.